Today, we're making some homemade tofu, one of my favorite ingredients to cook with, and it's very easy to make. Once you've tracked down the ingredients, which in total there are 2 of them, you're halfway there. So, to make tofu, first we need some dry soybeans, which you can find nowadays in most supermarkets. And one true benefit of homemade tofu is you get to control the quality of the soybean that you use. In terms of taste, I'm not gonna lie to you, homemade tofu is more of something you want to do than you have to do. And nowadays, store-bought tofu are actually of quite high quality. So I'm not gonna lie and tell you, homemade tofu would taste 10 times better, no. But you get to control all your ingredients. Here we have some dry soybeans and the coagulant, the binding agent. This is gypsum powder, which is traditionally used in tofu making. Nowadays, there are a few other coagulants, and some people even do it with lemon juice if you don't mind the taste. But traditionally, we use gypsum powder, which is a natural calcium sulfate, which nowadays, thanks to next day delivery, you could easily find them online. The first thing you need to do is we soak the soybeans. We take a much bigger bowl because they will at least double in size. Don't use a small bowl, you're gonna end up spilling everything. Dry soybean, big bowl, and we cover it with more water than you think you need. Please bear in mind, you have to use filtered water for this recipe, just to have more control. So filter water goes in. Now, we leave this to soak for at least 6 hours, but ideally overnight. And tomorrow, we'll come back, we'll talk different kinds of tofu, and we'll make some tofu. I'll see you then. All right, after an overnight rest, this has now doubled or tripled in size. So, we drain this, and now we officially move on to stage 1 of the tofu making process. We'll make the soy milk. To our blender, we add, this is 500 grams of dried soybean. And just for space sake, we'll do it in 2 batches. In total, for 500 grams of soybean, you want about 2 liters of water. We add the water, and we simply blitz it until it's silky smooth. We add this to our pot. We bring this to medium heat, and we slowly bring heat to the soy milk. We're doing this to cook it for the first time. We don't want this to boil vigorously. And throughout the process, it's very important that you always stir so that the bottom does not catch. The density of the liquid, because of the soybean, is very high. Now, we can start the skimming. We always alternate between skimming and stirring, just so that the bottom doesn't catch. You can smell the soy milk and you can see steam coming out from the pot. So now, stove off. We grab the biggest bowl you can find in your kitchen. We grab a sieve and we line the sieve with cheesecloth. We pass everything through. And now, we just let gravity do its magic until we pass everything through the sieve, and then we'll come back and make the tofu. Now, after about an hour, everything has been passed through. We give this one last big squeeze. We'll now cook the soy milk for a second time. I'm switching to a smaller pot, just because I'm too lazy to wash the previous one. You don't have to, you can use the same one. So very carefully, we add everything back. And we cook this at medium heat. Once again, we stir quite rigorously to prevent the bottom from catching. Now, once this has reached a bare simmer, we switch to low heat and we cook it with the lid on for 5 minutes. During which we have our coagulant, the gypsum powder, about 15 grams here. To that, we add about 100 grams of filtered water. Doesn't have to be precise. And we mix. If you ever use cornstarch as a thickener, this is almost an identical process. And after the 5 minutes, we'll slowly add our thickener to the tofu. I'll see you then. Now, after 5 minutes, you can see the tofu skin floating to the top. We remove the tofu skin and we stir vigorously. We stir in about a quarter of our mixture and we mix. Another quarter. And now you feel heavy resistance and you simply add the rest. We put the lid on and let this rest for about 3 minutes. Now, after 3 minutes, this has curdled up. Now, we have the two options I promised to explain earlier. On the one hand, if we just let this sit for about 20 minutes, skim off whatever liquid that floats to the top, we have silken tofu. Tofu that is not pressed. It has a silky, smooth texture, thus the name, but it's very difficult for it to hold its shape. On the other spectrum, you have pressed tofu, which is what we see mostly in conventional supermarkets. And the firmness of the tofu depends on how much time you spend pressing it. So today, let's go either extreme. We'll save some for silken tofu, and I'll demonstrate a few quick recipes after, and we'll make a very firm tofu for some stir fry. So to make the firm tofu, we have a tofu mold, which nowadays it's very easy to buy online. This would simply allow the excess moisture to drain much easier. And we line this once again with cheesecloth and we add the tofu on top. We add some weight on top. For firm tofu, 20 minutes is more than enough. And for the silken tofu, you simply let it sit for 20 minutes and skim off whatever liquid that floats to the top. I'll see you then. After almost 20 minutes and a bit of balancing act, our firm tofu is ready. As you can see, it squeezed out a lot of liquid. Beautiful. Wonderful, wonderful texture. And this is now ready for your stir fries. Now, for the silken tofu, the best way to enjoy tofu is either giving them almost no flavor or a ton of flavor. So, for silken tofu, you want to appreciate the soybeans, so I like to add very little. For something like a firm tofu, you can go all the way. You can have mapo tofu, you can have Thai spices. The tofu acts like a sponge and it will take on all those wonderful flavors. Today, I'll show you two ways of how I like to enjoy silken tofu. Here, we have soy sauce diluted with water, literally 50-50. And here, we have some honey melted with hot water. And I like to go thin with the silken tofu. So you get these beautiful thin layers, so the sauce could go through. And you have your silken tofu two ways. And this is homemade tofu. I really, really hope you enjoy.